everybody? Welcome inside the Executive Network right here on the YouTube streets. Got a special event for you tonight, everybody. This is a live FFWC draft, Fantasy Football World Championship, Beat Adam Ronis draft. So right now we are live and rocking and rolling on YouTube, getting ready to go into the draft room for the Beat Adam Ronis League. So basically, before we get ready to get the draft started, obviously, it is August, so that means it is fantasy football season. We are rocking and rolling. I got a couple of things I need you to do. Take some action before we go inside the draft room. The first thing I need you to do is go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I want to thank everybody that's subscribed so far, showing your support for the relaunch of the Fantasy Executive on YouTube. So thank you for doing that. Also, go down in that description box and find out how you can sign up and participate in a Fantasy Football World Championship draft like the one we are about to broadcast live coming up here in a few minutes. The homie Adam Ronis on the clock, so definitely looking forward to this right here. So we get to see a couple of things play out. We'll go inside the draft room soon. We're going to see a couple of things play out. I do know that our target tonight, the guy that we have the bounty on, Adam Ronis from SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, and also the messenger. He's a hell of a fantasy player, you know what I'm saying? So it's going to be interesting to see if these 11 contestants can compete with and possibly beat Adam Ronis. Now, I'll be full disclosure, full honesty with you. The dude is one of the best fantasy players that there is. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you know me and Ronis have done work for years now. So interesting to see how this draft goes down. So we got a couple minutes until we hop inside the draft room. So things that we're going to be looking for tonight is where are some of these injured players going to go? Guys like Joe Burrow, where's he going to go in tonight's draft? Yeah, Alvin Kamara's situation is playing out as well. Not to forget the fact that we also got other injury situations. The Jonathan Taylor thing is a big deal right now. So we got to see what Adam Ronis and the crew is going to do with Jonathan Taylor. So sit back, relax, crack open the cold one, or whatever you like to do. You know what I'm saying? If you want to twist something up and go ahead and roll with us through fantasy football draft season as we get ready for this big one tonight in the Fantasy Football World Championship. Take a look at the draft board right now, and you see there that we are counting down till we go inside the live draft room. So we got about just under 2 minutes to go. We see that Adam Ronis has team number 2 in the draft. So it's going to be interesting to see how he puts it together. Is it going to be Jamar Chase? Is it going to be Christian McCaffrey? Who knows? Maybe Justin Jefferson will be there. Those are the players that's going at the top of the boards right now. So whatever you're trying to do, getting ready for the upcoming fantasy football season, we got you covered right here. So we're taking all comments in the chat as well. Get a chance to pop a comment in there. And, that'll be cool too. Try to give you as much help as we possibly can, as we know that you are getting ready for your drafts as well. So don't forget, hit that subscribe button and then go in that description section and sign up for a Fantasy Football World Championship League. I see my man Frankie Tadeo is in the chat. Frankie, that's hour number 2. I'm going to need you to hop on here with me, bro. You know what I mean? You didn't answer the phone call a couple minutes ago, but in hour number 2, I'm going to need Frankie to hop on here. But listen, I can do 2-hour live draft by myself. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it does not mean that I want to do it. So shout out to my man Heel420 in the chat. Shout out to Fantasy Frankie in the chat right there. So we are getting ready to go on the clock live for the Beat Adam Ronis draft, Fantasy Football World Championship. Ronis coming out of the 2-hole. Now let me tell you a little bit about these leagues right here. It's a 12-team PPR, right? Now the roster construction in the Fantasy Football World Championship is a little bit different. You start a quarterback in this mid-state competition. You start a quarterback. You start 2 running backs. You start 3 wide receivers. But this league has the dual flex. So you got 11 people in your starting lineup. If you are a good drafter, then that extra roster spot can help you. If you're not a good drafter, then it can hurt you. Now, it's still early in August. We've only seen 1 preseason game, but I think there's some values that could be fine out there. So always fun to go on the clock live and see how people draft. Now, Ronis, he's a son of a gun, but he is an excellent drafter. So let's see how he's able to pull us out. He is the guy with the bounty on him. He's the guy with the target on it. We're in here to try to beat Adam Ronis. I have a 500 record versus Adam Ronis, full disclosure, and many people don't. All right, so I see that we're off and running. Let's go live with the draft board and see how round number 1 of the draft is going to shake out. Let's get the live draft board up here. So we see Justin Jefferson go off the board with the first pick in the draft, and obviously, you can't really say too much about that because Jefferson is the man. And then we see Adam Ronis take Jamar Chase with the second pick of the draft. Here we go. My man Snake jumps in there. I wonder if that's my guy Snake from Florida. He jumps in there and he takes Tyreek Hill. So 3 wide receivers off the board right away, with Tyreek Hill being the 3rd wide receiver off the board, going at 1-3. Normally, consensus-wise, this is a spot we normally see for Christian McCaffrey, but Tyreek Hill goes here. So what we see is Jefferson is the man. Jamar Chase, Ronis is not worried about the injury, and Chase is the beast. And then we see Snake take Tyreek Hill with the 3rd pick. Slippery Turf is now on the clock. You're going to see a lot of yellow stickers in this draft because with those 2 extra flexes, that 4-point PPR, got a lot of opportunities and chances to rack up points with those top wide receivers. Christian McCaffrey goes off the board with the 4th pick of the draft. We are in round 1, Fantasy Football World Championship Beat Adam Ronis League. This right here, this league is a $350 entry point. You got over $1,200 in league prizes, and you're playing for a grand prize in this as well. So this is a tournament style play. Interesting to see if any stacks are starting to develop. That's something to keep an eye on. Obviously, in this tournament style, a lot of people like to go after those stacks. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. After Tyreek Hill goes with the 3rd pick, we get our first 2 running backs off the board, with Slippery Turf taking Christian McCaffrey and Patient Man taking Austin Eckler. And then we get our first tight end, where we go back to another guy who mainly catches the football. That is Travis Kelce, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. I know in a lot of home leagues, you're thinking, wow, drafting a tight end that high. You saw the kind of season that Travis Kelce had last year. It landed him in the top 5 slot in the NFL top 100 list last night. Fantastic season for Kelce. Target monster, top guy, and one of the top offenses. Good chemistry. Now, let's see if this stack develops where you have Kelce and Mahomes on the same team. Interesting to keep an eye on that. That was a championship-winning stack last year. Let's see if they put it together. After Kelce, we get our first 2 wide receivers off the board, and CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, this is Amon-Ra St. Brown jumping a lot of these wide receivers. So it's going to be interesting to see how Steeler Fan puts this together. But he has obviously planted his flag in Amon-Ra St. Brown, taking him with the 8th pick overall in round number 1. That is the first major shakeup of this draft right here. The Lions wide receiver goes with pick number 8 overall, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then we get the rookie. The 3rd running back off the board is Bijan Robinson, rookie running back from for the Atlanta Falcons. I am a big Bijan Robinson guy. Let me tell you something about Robinson. I had noticed that his odds to win the Offensive Player of the Year were plus 7,500 a couple weeks ago. 75-1. Those odds are now down to 35-1 as people starting to buy in on this guy Robinson being an elite rookie who could possibly put up 2,000 total yards from scrimmage this year. Interesting that he goes with the 9th overall pick, 3rd running back to go off the board. The back end of the 1st round, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, and Calvin Ridley jumps up into round number 1. I always tell people, you can never predict a draft. I repeat, you can never predict the draft. In tonight's draft, we see Amon-Ra St. Brown and Calvin Ridley both go in round 1. Interesting stuff right there. So we are off and rolling right now. What's going on, Scotty? What up, everybody sitting out there in the chat? That is my man, Glenn Carrant. Shout out to Glenn if he's in there. I knew Snake figured out a way to play fantasy football. Now let's get back up here to this screen. I want to talk about some of these early picks. And hey, how about that? Amon-Ra St. Brown and Calvin Ridley, first rounders in this Fantasy Football World Championship Beat Adam Ronis draft. Can't predict the draft. Anything can happen. A lot of people were kind of worried about Ridley coming into the season, having the long break, number one, not playing last year. We see what kind of rust that could bring. Deshaun Watson, very rusty last year after his time off. Now, Ridley has been tearing it up in training camp, but you don't want to buy too much in the training camp hype. And now we see Calvin Ridley on the turn. Now, the team that took Calvin Ridley on the turn starts off with a Calvin Ridley, Garrett Wilson combination. Next pick in round number 2 goes A.J. Brown. So we got Diggs, Brown. Look at how many dual wide receiver teams in this draft being developed right now. We got Ridley, Wilson, Diggs, Brown, Kupp, Waddle. And then we get the guy that comes back with the dual running back, Saquon Barkley. Interesting, starting to slide into that second round a little bit. But Bijan Robinson and Barkley is that next group. Then we get Tony Pollard off the board. Devontae Adams puts together another team with a dual wide receiver start with CeeDee Lamb and Devontae Adams. Tony Pollard, that's about as high as I've seen Tony Pollard drafted. He's coming up draft boards. Travis Kelce, Nick Chubb, solid start right there. Then we get another dual running back start with Austin Eckler and the King, Derrick Henry, Devontae Smith, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith goes off the board. Then we see T. Higgins go off the board. T. Higgins into the second round. Another interesting pick right there. I'm a big T. Higgins supporter. And now we see Ronis snatch up Chris Olave. So a lot of teams coming out to get. We got 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. 6 teams right now in this league with wide receiver starts. It could be 7 teams as the Jamar Chase team is on the board right now. In the Fantasy Football World Championships, you're going to see those yellow stickers fly off the board. And that's what we're seeing right now. So big plays to the running backs in these drafts in the early going. Now let's just see what the first guy, the guy who drafted first, he goes Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor was a guy that we were taking a look at and keeping an eye on this draft because obviously, you know, JT is going through something crazy with the Indianapolis Colts, but he goes with the last pick of round number 2. We get ready to start round number 3 right here on the live draft show. Once again, I want to thank everybody for hopping in here. Don't forget to hit that like button, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, more importantly, and tell a friend to tell a friend. And then in the description box, you can go ahead and hop in there and check out some links and hop into a Fantasy Football World Championship draft yourself. We see Jahmyr Gibbs, Lions rookie running back, start round number 3. That is the first running back to go off the board. Interesting to see what Ronis does right here on the clock. Started with Chase and Olave. Is he going to try to get the stack? No. He goes third wide receiver, and he goes DK Metcalf. No quarterbacks have gone off the board yet. We see the next team, Snake, start Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, and Jerry Jeudy. Right now, round 3, Gibbs, Metcalf, Jeudy off the board. Slippery Turf now with a chance to take his third pick of this draft. So we're rolling right along right here, Fantasy Football World Championship Draft live on the Executive YouTube channel on these digital YouTube streets. Your boy Corey Parson, the Fantasy Executive, beat Adam Ronis draft. He's the man with the target on him. Adam Ronis of SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio and The Messenger. But he's been around a while in this industry, winning championships, winning titles. But tonight, the bounty is on Adam Ronis. Next tight end to go off the board is Mark Andrews, Baltimore Ravens tight end who, listen, I don't care who they put out there with Lamar. Odell Beckham, Zay Flowers, they put Jerry Rice in his prime out there. Lamar Jackson going to throw the ball to Mark Andrews, and I can guarantee you that one right there. Andrews goes off the board with pick 4 of round 3. That team right now, McCaffrey, Smith, and Mark Andrews. Then Patient Man coming out that 4-hole starts with 3 backs. Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson. This is clearly everybody zigging. I'm going to go ahead and zag. Now, let's see. Will we see the Patrick Mahomes stack right here? This team already has Kelce, has a running back in Nick Chubb. Do we see the Mahomes-Kelce stack coming from team number 6? Interesting developments right here. We are live. Fantasy Football World Championship. Beat Adam Ronis draft. 16 seconds on the clock. Is the Patrick Mahomes stack going to be in effect for this tournament? No, Jalen Hurts. Whoa! With Patrick Mahomes on the board, the Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce stack sitting right there, and he goes for Jalen Hurts. Wow, I got to hop into the comment section and see what's going on right there. Can you imagine that the Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce stack was right there for the taking? Instead, Jalen Hurts goes off the board. We are off into a wild start. I tell people all the time, you cannot predict the draft. And there you go right there. My man Omar says, when wide receivers fly off the board like this, do you take the RB value presented, or do you try to get the wide receivers you like before they dry up? Now, here's the thing that I think is interesting about this. I'm going to go ahead, if I'm in the draft like this and I'm not getting the receivers that I want, I'm going to go ahead and dig into that wide receiver or that running back pool, because I feel as if you can get wide receivers later in the draft and possibly off the waiver wire. I can tell you something. You're never going to find a running back on the waiver wire. After you get out the first month of fantasy season, a running back on the waiver wire is going to cost you your entire fab. Shout out to my man Stats Guru. Good to see you too. Yeah, Atkins, he had the stack and turned it down. And it's not like he turned it down and went with a position player. He went with another quarterback. But Jalen Hurts goes off the board. QB1 in this draft is Jalen Hurts. Good times on a good Wednesday. I got to take the trash out before I go to bed. Before we get off this stream, do not let me forget. Oh, no, that's tomorrow night. I'm good. I'm going to take trash out tonight. Okay, cool. I ain't got to worry about that. All right, let's get back full screen mode right here and see what's going on. After Hurts goes off the board, Keenan Allen. So the three wide receivers start right there is Lamb, Adams, and Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, you want health because you know if the volume is going to be there. Devontae Adams and CeeDee Lamb are studs. CeeDee Lamb at 7. That's the highest I've seen CeeDee Lamb go. So that's good to see right there. Then we see Travis Etienne go off the board after Keenan Allen. Then Amari Cooper. Cooper was a steal last year. If you got Cooper, you did pretty good and made a deep run, because from where he was going and the value he brought back in return, young Mr. Amari Cooper. And I didn't think he was going to perform well in Cleveland because Amari Cooper don't like to play in the cold. And he performed well last year. Now, can he do it again this year? And listen, he's a top fantasy wide receiver, Deshaun Watson's top weapon. Interesting to see when our next quarterback is going to go. Interesting as well to see when some of these other quarterbacks and some of these risky players. Speaking of risky players, Calvin Ridley is already off the board. Jonathan Taylor already off the board as well. So two of the guys we kept an eye on coming into the draft already off the board. Breece Hall goes after Cooper. A lot of smart people that I've talked to are not on Breece Hall this year, coming off 1 year after the injury. They're kind of fading him at this current ADP. So we'll see how that plays out. After Hall goes, we get Deebo Samuel. Now that's 3 wide receiver team is Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, and Deebo Samuel as WR3. And then after that, we get the next 3 wide receiver team, Calvin Ridley, Garrett Wilson, CJ Watson. And then that team comes back to start round number 4 with Joe Mixon. Then we see back-to-back quarterbacks go off the board, and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. The Allen Diggs stack was turned down. Then the Allen team goes to with Cooper Kupp, Waddle, and Breece Hall. And then Drake London, the second-year Atlanta Falcon wide receiver, is the next player taken right there. So interesting. Listen, it's not like the stack is mandatory. All right? It's not. But in a tournament style play, it seems like everybody is going for the stacks. So to get in this draft right here and see people turn down the stacks is very interesting. You know what I'm saying? They're very interesting to see people turn down the stacks. Hey, Omar, they do got some more affordable leagues in there as well. So you can hop in there. You get in whatever price range you're comfortable with. Just go in there and compete with the best. And that's what you have at the Fantasy Football World Championship. Todd is saying, I love the 12 spot. Picked it both times when I chose my own spot. Great feature in the FFWC. That's right. You have a chance to pick your own draft spot. Omar says, my 11-year-old wants his own team. I might go this route. He ain't touching any of my home league teams. Nah, hook him up on here, you know what I'm saying, and get him his own joint, you know what I mean? And let him play around and enjoy the draft. You know what? We can even go live for his draft. When he has his 11-year-old draft, you know what I'm saying? We can go live for that. What up, my man Matt Brandon down there in the chat? Shout out to MB. And no, I'm not going to be talking about the Cowboys too much. Let's go full screen board right here. See what's going on. After we saw Drake London go off the board, we see Hopkins. I'll be honest with you. I'm not in on Hopkins at all this year. You know how I feel about Tennessee Titans offense. I think Tennessee is the place where wide receivers go to end their career. Then we see Najee Harris. Listen, look, Team Tonka, Lamb, Adams, Allen, and then his RB1 is Najee Harris. Don't have a problem with that. Then we get Terry McLaurin off the board. And then we see Patient Man, robust RB strategy, a.k.a. zero wide receiver, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson, and Adam Jones. The great Kimra always says, don't check your swing. If you want to dominate a position, go ahead and dominate it. And then you go right there. And then we see, after Aaron Jones goes off the board, we see Chris Godwin. Snake, another team. Snake decides to go with the full wide receiver start, adding Deontay Johnson to the team. And then Ronis comes right behind him, the guy who has the bounty on him in this league. And he has his fourth wide receiver in Christian Kirk. So we got some 4 wide receiver teams going at it also. So this is zero RB going crazy right now. Going to be interesting to see what running backs Ronis ends up with. Like, knowing Ronis the way I do, I'm sure he did not come into the draft thinking I'm going to go 4 wide receivers. But we there now, you know what I'm saying? Let's see if he gets his first running back coming back here on the turn in round number 5. Corey Parson, the fantasy executive. If everybody is, make sure you hit that subscribe button, you know what I'm saying? And then and check out the leagues as well. If you're going to be in Canton, Ohio this weekend for the Fantasy Football Festival, definitely want to see you get a handshake and have a good time. So looking forward to that this upcoming weekend as we get into the month of August. That means it's time to sign up for Fantasy Football World Championship Leagues and see if you can make a couple of dollars. We end round number 4. Chicago Bears wide receiver DJ Moore going off the board. And then that round starts with a guy from right up the street from where I'm at right now in South Carolina, Santee's own Mike Williams. That is Adam Hu, wide receiver number 3. Now we got Ronis back on the board. Is Ronis going to budge right here? Yes, he does. This is what I be talking about with Adam Ronis, right? This guy has tremendous. Wait a minute. I gotta get back up on the screen for this one. Adam Ronis drafts 4 wide receivers. His first running back is the guy who led the league in rushing last year. What the hell is the rest of the board doing? How do you let Ronis draft 4 straight receivers and then get the guy who led the league in rushing last year? It doesn't make any sense. Adam Ronis has tremendous fantasy luck, because that's all that you consider that is right there is fantasy luck. That Ronis goes 4 wides to start and then gets Josh Jacobs, who led the league in rushing last year in the 5th round. It doesn't make any sense. Shout out to Alan Ronis. He may have just won the league with that pick right there. Unbelievable. Adam Ronis. Let's go back to the draft board right now. After Ronis goes Josh Jacobs. Snake goes Ken Walker. So Ronis and Snake, they get there. Now listen, Ken Walker could flirt with running back 1 territory as well. He stays healthy this year. I like Walker. I like that Seahawk offense, period. So interesting to see. Back-to-back Seahawks then go off the board. Ken Walker followed by Tyler Lockett. So we are into round number 5 right now, and we're starting to see these teams come together and shake out. And let me make sure that we can change this draft board up when it's time for us to. Yeah, okay, good. So we good to go right there. Yep, rocking and rolling through the broadcast. What up, Abe? What's going on, brother? Good to see you. My man Snake, what's going on? Snake said he can have Jacobs. That's why they went all in. That's why they all it last year. Hey, you're right. That was last year. But you Snake, you cannot tell me you was not going to take Jacobs if he was there. So I'm not buying that one at all. I think for 100% certain that if Josh Jacobs was right there, that would have been the case. But Snake, you should have got Josh Jacobs instead of listen. Well, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Snake is a guy who's won this thing before. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not even tripping off of that. So he goes with Ken Walker, and there you go right there. What up, Abe? What's going on? You know what I'm saying, man? It's good to have all the homies back talking fantasy football on this good old night. I got myself a beverage right here. Now, I took the beverage out the can and poured it in here. But guess what? It was not a Bud Light can. I'm not that guy. Adam Ronis may drink Bud Light, but the fantasy executive don't. All right, let's go back to the board. Tyler Lockett goes, and then we see our third tight end off the board, and TJ Hockenson. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to comment on players not taken because that would be distasteful to the teams that's already because you know guys in the draft could be watching. So I don't want to do that. After Hockenson, we see Brandon Ayuk, and then look at Team Tonka: Lamb, Adams, Keenan Allen, and then Najee Harris and Cam Akers. So 3 wide receivers start, but still 2 solid running backs. Now, game script will probably not be in Akers' favor, but he can be bell cowish this season. So Cam Akers is RB2 on Team Tonka. And then we get Rashad White. Then Marquise Brown goes off. That team with Marquise Brown started Bijan Robinson and Saquon Barkley. And then bang, 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 Amari Cooper, Drake London, and Marquise Brown. I expect a big target share from Marquise Brown this year. Arizona's going to have a negative game script. They're going to be throwing the football a lot. And Brown could be a top target guy in this league, in this season. This season, he could be a top target guy. Hong Kong, the next pick, to my favorite rookie outside of Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. So let me say my favorite rookie wide receiver, Jackson Smith and Jigba, goes to Hong Kong. And then Miles Sanders is RB1 on a team with Steph Diggs, A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuels, and Patrick Mahomes. Expect Miles Sanders to be active in the passing game this year. So that should be the case right there. We are rocking and rolling, getting ready to go into round number 6, Fantasy Football World Championship. We see J.K. Dobbins go off the draft board. Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins is super duper talented. I think he's holding a sit-in right now. Think he could be fully healthy, not like his contract situation, and be using, these guys don't want to be in training camp, especially a dude like J.K. Dobbins who stayed hurt. Now, he can be a difference maker if he's healthy. If he's not, this is your RB2. J.K. Dobbins is a very interesting player. I'm willing to take some risks with Dobbins, but I do not want to be overexposed to J.K. Dobbins. DeAndre Swift and George Pickens, then DeAndre Swift. And then we see Indianapolis Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman go off the board. I'm in on Pittman this year because I'm in on the Colts offense. I'm in on Pittman. I'm in on Pierce. So I like those. I like those guys. I like my man Anthony Richardson as well. I think in Shane Steichen's offense, that 6-back attack, he can put up some numbers like how you saw. I'm not going to say like Jalen Hurts did and Fields did last year, but he's just as talented an athlete as those 2 guys right there. So I think the Colts are in a good spot. So I do like this pick. I don't think the Colts offense is going to die on the vine with Anthony Richardson out there running the show in Indianapolis. So I know everybody's doing the action items that we already asked. Hit the subscribe button and take a look at some Fantasy Football World Championship competitions. Beat Adam Ronis League. The guy with the bounty on him is in the 2-hole, and he got lucky. Josh Jacobs fell to him, and that's his RB1 after he drafts 4 wide receivers to start. Check my Twitter feed, see if anything going crazy on Twitter. Adam Ronis cheating. Now, let me not say Adam Ronis cheating. Me and Adam Ronis going to do a podcast tomorrow. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out right there. I'll ask him about this draft tonight. All right. So far, nothing going on in the Twitter sphere. Let's get ready. Let's switch this board up a little bit. Let's get this board moving. Try to stay with you through most of this draft as possible. Frankie, holla at me, son. So now we are back up and at 'em. Let's get in here and get back to live action in the draft. Dobbins, Pickens, Swift. This is round number 6. Dobbins, Pickens, Swift, Michael Pittman. Then we see Joe Burrow go off the board, followed by Jamal Williams, Pierce, Lamar Jackson then goes. And then we see Alexander Madison, Lamar Jackson team, one pick away from a possible team with a Andrews and Jackson stack. Now we get to the snake, Adam Ronis' turn. I love this pick right here. Love this pick by my man, the snake, at pick 610. James Cook, running back, Buffalo Bills, averaged over 8 yards of reception last year. That's normally a telltale sign for a breakout season coming. If they get him involved, I think James Cook can be a steal right here. Good pick. So you see the teams that went heavy, super heavy wide receivers, still able to find running backs. So that's something that you should take into considerations in your own drafts. Guys like Josh Jacobs, who not in camp, they could drop. A guy like James Cook, Ken Walker. So still some backs out there. Like the way these two guys put it together, even though despite that they kind of ignored the running back position early. Adam Ronis gets his RB2, and James Conner don't like that pick as much. Curious if Ronis would have took James Cook if he was there and available, then he really could have slammed the door. But then again, Conner, I'm not that high on, and I would kind of guess that Ronis is not that high on Conner as well. I think the game script is going to be problematic for him. You know what I'm saying? Omar says, in your opinion, who is this year's Josh Jacobs? Someone under the radar who can finish as a running back one. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if you really would say that some of the guys that have gone off the board so far are under the radar. But when I look at some guys, like I think Cam Akers is in a good spot this year. I've already told you I like James Cook, but maybe not as an RB1. I think Najee Harris gets back to being a heavy volume play. I think you got an improvement. Aaron Jones. I like Aaron Jones a lot this year. I would say maybe that's the guy right there. He went off the board as RB15, but I can see him finish the year as a top 10 runner. Our last pick of round number 6 was Tampa wide receiver Mike Evans. Mike Evans goes off the board, 6'12". A lot of people feel like Mike Evans is being disrespected. Then you look at the quarterback situation out there with Kyle Trask basically beating Baker Mayfield out. Last year, people were down on Tyler Lockett because they thought his quarterback situation was going to be terrible. Tyler Lockett was lit last year. So there you go. Could be the same thing this year for Mike Evans. Now, Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield is not going to have a Geno Smith-style season, but they still could possibly support a WR1. Thanks to everybody that's already in the chat. Thanks to everybody that's hopping in here right now. Fantasy Football World Championship. Beat Adam Ronis live draft right here on the Executive YouTube Network. Corey Parson, the Fantasy Executive. Hit that subscribe button and tell a friend to tell a friend. Ronis, black on the clock, the dude with the bounty on his head. He takes Darren Waller with the second pick of the 7th round. Alvin Kamara went at 7-1. And then you had Justin Fields, the latest quarterback to go off the board. My man Snake gets Justin Fields at 7-3. Justin Fields really came on last year as a dynamic running quarterback, which really made his fantasy stock go through the roof coming into this season right here. So good job by Snake getting this quarterback. Now you still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams that don't have quarterbacks yet. I think we've already gotten past the top fantasy assets at the position. Interesting to see who is next. Darren Waller, latest tight end. Fields, latest quarterback. Then we see Then we see David Montgomery go off the board, followed by Jahan Dotson, wide receiver for the Washington Commanders. Dotson's a player that a lot of people are thinking big things for this upcoming season. And listen, I like the player a lot too. I just worry that what those targets are going to look like out there in DC this year. I rest my voice for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I'm 35 minutes in. No breaks, no days off, fantasy executive. You know what I'm saying? 9:30 at night where I'm at. Adam Ronis in his house with his feet up drafting the fantasy team and watching baseball. I'm in here getting it in. Justin Herbert. I forgot about Justin Herbert. Latest quarterback to go off the board was Justin Herbert. And then we see Quentin Johnson, rookie wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers go off the board. Tasty beverage. Ooh, Ronis with the swipe. Snake says that Ronis swiped Darren Waller from him. Interesting. Snake's in on Waller, and so am I. I think he can be the top target. Waller can be for Daniel Jones and the New York Giants this season. Didn't really have the year. I had him a lot of places last year, and he let me down. But, of course, he'll come back this year, and I don't have him and had a year of his career. 2 more tight ends go in this round. Darren Waller goes to Ronis, and then we see Kyle Pitts and Dallas Goedert go back-to-back. Kyle Pitts is interesting. If you go through some of the content on the channel, you see I have my man Dan Titus from Yahoo on the day, and we got into a discussion about Kyle Pitts. And basically, he's kind of where I'm at. If it's going to happen for Pitts this year, it's going to happen on somebody else's team. I'm not rooting against him. The talent is real. Maybe it does happen, but fantasy owners are romantic. You let us down, we're probably going to turn away from you. You treat us good, we're going to keep coming back to you. And right now, I'm on the downside of Kyle Pitts. I'm not going to say I'm not going to have no Kyle Pitts, but it's going to be very limited. You know what I'm saying? Now, I could come back next year if he pops, but if he doesn't pop, which I'm not sure he's going to, it's not going to happen. Like I've said before, we've seen these tight ends. Evan Ingram comes to mind. O.J. Howard comes to mind. These freak athletes, like Kyle Pitts is, but it never really translates. Hopefully that's not the case because this guy is super talented. Isaiah Pacheco and Elijah Moore are the first 2 picks of round number 8. Then we get Treylon Burks, second-year wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans, going off the board. So Burks is off the board right there as well. You got your draft coming up this weekend, or you want to throw some questions down there in the chat, go ahead and feel free to do that. We can answer some questions while we get ready and rock and roll through this draft. Treylon Burks, the latest pick to go off the board. Sky Moore, followed by Michael Thomas. Man, Michael Thomas, every year, the past couple years in training camp, it's like, oh, Michael Thomas is healthy this year. And then I put Michael Thomas on my bench, and then he played 1 game and you don't see him no more. I'm out through with Michael Thomas. Sky Moore, the Chiefs always bringing these wide receivers, and then they're going to be the next Tyreek Hill, and never playing out. People be drafting these wide receivers, and all Pat Mahomes do is throw the ball to Travis Kelce. So there you go right there. Sky Moore, not somebody I'm not interested in. Could happen. You know what I mean? I understand why, but I think I've seen a little bit too much. Evan Ingram coming off that big year last year. Like for example, we'll talk about Kyle Pitts, right? And I said if it happened with Pitts this year, it's going to happen on somebody else's team, and then I'll come back. That's the same way I felt about Evan Ingram. I said last year, hey, I'm done with Evan Ingram. If it happened, it's going to happen on somebody else's team. And you know what? It happened. You know what I'm saying? And I was nowhere to be found. I'm back in this year. I just couldn't take that risk no more. Always hear about, like I say, people that know my content, like I will say that some of these guys are like what Bigfoot. You always hear about it, but you never see it, like the Tooth Fairy. And that's what Kyle Pitts has kind of been for fantasy. You always hear about it, but you never see it. It's time for me to see it if he's going to be on my fantasy team. That's all I'm saying. After Evan Ingram, Brian Robinson goes off the board. I was about to make a comment about a player, but I don't believe that player is off the board yet, so I'm gonna keep it to myself. But I am not. I like Antonio Gibson more than I like Brian Robinson. I'll just say that. I hope I didn't throw anybody off. I love Brandon Cooks. That's a great pick right there. I think if you remember how T.Y. Hilton looked down the stretch when he joined the Cowboys late last year, I think Cooks is going to be a younger, better version of that in that offense. Juju Smith-Schuster goes off the board. Then Snake gets George Kittle. So he still gets, shout out to Snake. Starts 4 wides, Ken Walker and James Cook. Then he goes Fields and Kittle. So he got a top quarterback and a top tight end. And then Ronis comes and takes Trevor Lawrence. So really, it's almost as if Snake and Ronis have kind of disregarded the rest of the draft room, and they're on their own little personal battle. Very interesting developments right here in the Fantasy Football World Championship Beat Adam Ronis draft. James Maloney says, I think Pitts finally has a decent quarterback in Desmond Ridder. And that's interesting right there, James. Like, I seen Desmond a couple games of Ridder last year. I wasn't impressed. But listen, Mariota did a decent job. I think you can coach the Ridder up. But, it's not going to happen with me for Pitts. It doesn't seem like they put him in the game plan. So we'll see what happens. Who's the latest player to go off the board as we get ready to close down round number 8? We get Zay Flowers and Cortland Sutton. Now, I've always been super hesitant on drafting or rostering Baltimore Raven wide receivers. Let me explain why. Most of them don't hit. Rashad Bateman, Deshaun Jackson. So what Baltimore, for as great as Baltimore is, it's like, do they understand their own personnel? Lamar Jackson loves the middle of the field, but they go get these outside wide receivers like Zay Flowers. Now, I like Zay Flowers. I'm going to give Zay Flowers a shot mainly because new offensive coordinator in Monken. But you can bet your bottom dollar, no matter who is on this team, Lamar Jackson is looking for Mark Andrews in the middle of the field. Now, Dobbins can eat off that as well if he can stay healthy. I like Baltimore's offense. It is risky with Dobbins, but that's the risk I'm willing to take. Ronis then goes Nico Collins. Nico was a guy I was in on last year. It didn't hit, and then Snake goes with Bateman. Nico was a guy who didn't hit last year. Like, I know I was on him. I remember I was on Better Network with my man, Big Game Joe Dolan. We was doing a show over there, and we were discussing Collins, and we were in on him. And then it didn't happen. Maybe it happens for Ronis this year. C.J. Stroud, new quarterback out there. At least he should be named the starter. There's really no reason to fool around, with guys like Gardner Minshew and whoever else is in Houston and stuff like that. Go ahead and give the young quarterbacks a shot. As a matter of fact, that's what I'm most looking forward to this weekend and these spring training, these training camp, exhibition games, the preseason. I want to see what some of these young quarterbacks look like. After Snake goes with Bateman, we see Samaje Perine go off the board. Man, let me tell you something. Perine is a guy I like this year. Now, Javonte Williams appears to be healthy and ready to go. I think Perine has standalone value, and God forbid something happens to Williams, Perine to the moon. So I'm a big Sam Perine guy. He played well in some spots last year. All right. My man Glenn says Bateman over Zay and OBJ. Just watch CP. Abe says Kyle Pitts is going to be moved all around along with Bijan Robinson. I think, listen, if you think Bijan, I just can't. It has to happen on somebody else's team. That's all I'm saying. I can't do the Pitts thing. You know what I mean? Like, how can y'all feel comfortable with Pitts and talk Pitts up after Pitts was an absolute dud last season? And the biggest Pitts supporters will tell you that. And I understand you know you can't handicap this season talking about last season. But listen, we in the show me business. You got to show me. And that's where I'm at with Kyle Pitts right now. Bateman has to stay healthy, Snake. We got to see what Bateman does. After saying P. Ryan, we get is that Jacoby Myers? All right, it's interesting. And then we get Kadarius Toney and Zach Charbonnet. That Zach Charbonnet team is loading up on running backs. Pat Freiermuth goes off the board. And then we get Deshaun Watson. The Deshaun Watson team got Kyle Pitts on it. Now you got a Watson and Cooper stack. I do see that. Watson was bad last year. Like, and everybody goes, oh, well, he was rusty. That's a lot of goddamn rush, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, that dude was super duper bad. It's gonna happen if it happens for Watson this year, it'll happen on my bench as a quarterback too, and then he goes to my lineup, or it's gonna happen on your team. Devin Achane goes off the board after Deshaun Watson, and then we finally, round 9, pick 11, Dalvin Cook. So we have got, this is why I tell you, the best players play at the Fantasy Football World Championship. Because now we see what I think should be common knowledge. James Cook should be drafted before Dalvin Cook. We just seen James Cook be drafted 3 rounds ahead of Dalvin Cook. This is where the best play. You know what I'm saying? And this is the way it should be. But now, Cook get with the right team, he can blow the doors off. Still a guy with a chronic injury. Hasn't signed yet. Don't know what kind of money he's looking for. You know, the running backs pretending to be broke right now. But Dalvin Cook goes to a team that has Miles Sanders, Rashard Penny, Isaiah Pacheco as running backs. You can't see up the board. I'm not going to scroll back up there right now. I want to focus on what we're doing. So that's interesting. And then we get Rondell Moore, Arizona Cardinals, to close out round number 9. Open up round number 10 with Anthony Richardson. I'm cool with Richardson. I love Richardson. He's a 10th quarterback to go off the board. I think he's a fantasy football starter. Year 1, week 1, put him in there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say he's going to blow the doors off in week 1 like Cam Newton did back in his day. But I think Anthony Richardson is going to be a guy we like. And I like it even more if Jonathan Taylor get rolling. Glenn saying Dalvin, the Dolphins, and all bets off. Okay. All right. Omar took Pitts at 311 last year, finally buying in after he torpedoed my whole season. I feel you on that one, son. You know what I mean? I had a couple teams. The team, I may have had him on 2 teams last year. My man, Lawrence Jackson, Lord Don't Lose, ran one of them. And it wasn't even like we missed a beat. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to him running that team right there. Now that Cook is gone, I could say where I think would have been the perfect spot for Cook. Now that he's off the board, I think Washington would be a fabulous landing spot for Cook. He's better than Robinson. He's better than Antonio Gibson. I think that's a player that they need to be looking at. They got a new ownership group. Go out there and spend that bread and bring Dalvin Cook to a team in Washington who I think can compete for the playoffs this year. After Richardson, we get Ray Rice. No, I'm just playing. It's not Ray Rice. That's Rasheed Rice. So we get Rasheed Rice. Then we get Jameson Williams. Williams not having a great camp, so the reports say, but he's going to miss 6 games anyway. And he need to appeal that suspension and get out there earlier. But it's hard to try. And don't get me wrong. Pause. I said it's hard. Pause. Don't get me wrong. You miss 6 games. It's hard to roster that player. I got him on one team. Fingers crossed. Hopefully he can be a stash and cash. But normally running backs are stashes and cashes. But the guy is super duper talented. But hopefully things work out. After Williams, we see Romeo Doubs, followed by Tyler Boyd. Then DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones. And then that's Jamal Williams right there. I said Williams earlier was Javonte. That was Javonte. This is Jamal Williams right here. So Jamal Williams, last year's NFL leading rushing touchdown man, is off the board. I don't think he puts up those big touchdown numbers again this year, but that was a lot of fun last year. I had him on a couple of teams. You know what I'm saying? Every time you turn around, someone's in the end zone shaking his hips. So shout out to Jamal Williams. Great year last year. Next tight end off the board is David Njoku. You see, with the tight ends, I'm trying to get my first tight end, my tight end one, before we get to the David Njoku range. So I'm cool with firing off and Ingram and Kittle and Hawkinson, not Pitts and Goddard, you know what I mean, and Mark Andrews and obviously Travis Kelce. But when we get into the Dave, I don't want David Njoku. So I need a tight end before that. Ronis and Snake go back to back. Snake takes A.J. Dillon, a player I like a lot this year, also an A.J. Dillon. Then Ronis grabs Chicago Bears running back Khalil Herbert. Dillon I like. I think it's going to be enough there to support Jones and Dillon. So I'll leave that right there. I'm going to come back later and talk about the Green Bay Packers and some of their prospects as soon as we get some more Packers rocking and rolling. We are into round number 10 of the Fantasy Football World Championship, FFWC Beat Adam Ronis live draft. I'm your host, Corey Parson, the Fantasy Executive. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please do that. You know what I'm saying? Would appreciate that a ton. And then also tell a friend and tell a friend. And some people over here, Fantasy Executive, as we get ready for the upcoming season. If you like what you see in this draft right now, great format, 12 teams. You start 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes. Nice, smooth draft software. And there's price points for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Starters at $50. Dynasty coming in around $75. This league right here, mid-stakes, $1,200 in league prizes. And then obviously the big one, the granddaddy of them all, the main event of the Fantasy Football World Championship. You can draft online or go out to Las Vegas. Circa Swim is where they're doing it this year. That's for the fantasy football ballers. $150,000 grand prize in that one. So go ahead and get involved with that. And listen, if you just want to have some fun and hit up that mock draft world championship for free, you can win a Panini Flawless Hobby Box. And you can pull a card out of there where you can get more money than everybody in this draft is getting. Odell Beckham goes off the board to end round number 10. We open up round 11 with Jaylen Warren. I love Jaylen Warren this year. I think that's a fantastic draft pick. He's another guy who you can really start to see ascend because of what he can do in the passing game. And now that we're in round 11, we get back to the wrestling match between Ronis and Snake. Love this pick. Tank Bigsby. Another running back I'm in on later on in drafts. When me and Ronis do Fantasy Foes tomorrow, we're going to break down this draft. And I'm going to ask him about Tank Bigsby. He's a player I like. Me and Ronis were both in on Travis Etienne last year. And Etienne played well, but Son got to score more touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? I think Etienne is probably the best, maybe not. Calvin Johnson, the best non-quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is the man. But does Ronis have a stack? Yeah, Ronis got a Christian Kirk, Trevor Lawrence stack. So there you go right there. That's a low-key stack for Ronis. The Lawrence Kirk with Bigsby stack. Darren Waller at the tight end. Like the way Ronis' teams come together. And now we see a stack trying to form. It's a Justin Fields stack. But we see Mooney go to Snake. And then Kirk Cousins comes off the board as QB 11. Kirk Cousins. All right. So there we go. He got you on Tank. Thanks a lot, Abe. Definitely appreciate that, my man. You know what I'm saying? Those was the good old days, the Roto experts in the morning. We did a thing that was very special, you know what I'm saying? And we're still all friends to this day, you know what I'm saying? I get a chance to see Scott and hopefully Adam this weekend in the Fantasy Football Expo out there in Canton, Ohio. Snake, hop on the flight. Snake, come out to Expo this weekend, you know what I'm saying? I know where some dirty foots at in Canton. You know what, man? Snake like a good dirty foot. You know what I'm saying? Come on out, Snake, and put you on some dirty foots in Canton. But definitely, Abe, thanks for the compliment. The dirty foot. Shout out to my man Glenn Caron out there having a good time. putting together a pretty solid lineup. So there you go right there. Oh, no, I'm going to find some out there in Canton. You know what I'm saying, Snake? You can forget about that. Oh, so having a good time right here. I was trying to get my man Fantasy Frankie to come on here and join me and chop it up a little bit in the upcoming hour, but maybe Frankie, obviously out there on the West Coast, he probably out there doing this thing, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to him for that. All right. Just open up. Thanks for all the subscribers that have jumped on there, subscribe to the YouTube channel since we've been out here. Definitely appreciate that. Let me see. Going through the emails right now. All right, so that's nothing. That's nothing. That Fantasy Executive is doing. So listen, everybody. A lot of my broadcast work, whether fantasy, sports betting, will be done right here on the YouTube channel. Don't forget, also got some work over on the Better Sports Network. But things are still kind of fluid for the upcoming season. You know what I mean? Talking to a couple of people, hoping to be talking to people out here this year over at the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio. So whatever information I find, I will bring it to you. Let's get back to the draft. After Kirk Cousins goes off the board, we get Alan Lazard, followed by Jerick McKinnon. Then we get Isaiah Hodgins. Hodgins was a nice waiver wire find last year. Might be a little tougher this year to get that work. And then we get Damian Harris, Tyler Algier, and Greg Dulcich. When I was talking to Dan Titus from Yahoo Fantasy today, that interview is on the website. If you can't check it out tonight, you go ahead and check it out tomorrow morning before you leave from work or while you're working from home, whatever the case may be. He likes Greg Dulcich as a guy that you can get as a tight end in this range if you miss out on, the guys, the top guys. Like I say, when you play tight end chicken too long, I don't want to be in the Dulcich Schultz range. I want to be in the Hockenson, Waller, Ingram, Kittle range. And then I'm probably not going to have Kelsey. I'm not going to go tight end early. If I'm in an auction, I might pay up for Kelsey, but more than likely, I'm going to have, that range with a couple of spots down. Kendre Miller, New Orleans Saints rookie running back, goes off the board to start round number 12. Followed by, before him was Rashawn Johnson from the Chicago Bears to end round 11. Miller starts round 12. All right. Try to do this at least once a week, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. And speaking of which, we have a Beat the Fantasy Executive Draft. I got to holler at Atkins, get him to throw one in the lobby. What we'll do is we'll probably throw it in the lobby sometime around Labor Day, so give people enough time to hop in there and get set up. Would like to do it at this level right here, at this price point of the this price point, I think will be good. But if we got to go down to the starter level, or maybe we do 2 drafts, that'd be interesting as well. Hey, listen, Stats Guru, I would like to be out there this year for the main event. It'll be a good time out there, you know what I'm saying? So having conversation with the crew right now and let me know. Yeah, Omar, I'll probably try to hop in. I probably try to do a couple levels, Omar. So I definitely will let you know. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, just keep in tune to what's going on the YouTube channel. I'll throw it in the comment section. I'll make sure people know. You know what I'm saying? So we'll have a good time with that one. So let's head back to round number 12 on the draft board. John Mechie. John Mechie is a very good player. Now, he's had some health and injury stuff that kind of kept him out. But that's Alabama running back is good. It's a sneaky pick right there. John Mechie. Then we get Elijah Mitchell. Then Dalton Kincaid. Kincaid is one of those late tight ends I would take a flyer on. I don't want him as TE1. Now, he's on the team with Kyle Pitts, so he may have to be TE1. But he's a guy I would like in that tight end 2 range. And if I play tight end chicken too long, I can pull him up. If not, I'm cool with Dalton Kincaid. Dak Prescott goes off the board. Okay, I'm not going to mention that, but Dak Prescott and Joe Burrow are the quarterbacks on that team. Then we get Gerald Everett off the board, and then we get Zay Jones. Zay had some big games for the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. That's a pretty good pick down here in round number 12. Obviously Calvin Ridley there now, so that production could come down, son. But still, the bottom line of the matter is this: this is going to be enough to go around out there. So I don't mind that Zay Jones pick. It looks like a real good pick in round number 12. Now, the year that I won the Dominator and took a good run at the Fantasy Football World Championship, I drafted that team. I'll never forget that draft. I drafted that team on Labor Day night. And I'm telling you, some of the best fantasy football players in the world was in that league that night. You know what I'm saying? Chad Schroeder. After the draft was over, I had a fucking headache. That's how crazy that draft was, right? And the team kind of treaded water. But you know what happened? I had dual tight ends that year. And this is the year that Travis Kelce popped, right? And I got Travis Kelce later on in that draft. And what I ended up doing was, in that second flex spot, I threw Kelce in there. I forgot who the other tight end was. That team was stacked. It was loaded. Travis Kelce went off. We had a good run that year. You know who was on that team? Matt Ryan was on that team. Devontae Freeman was on that team. This is the year the Falcons went to the Super Bowl, so their offense was legit that year. But yeah, after Zay, we get Adam Thielen, Devin Singletary, Ken Gainwell goes to Snake, Marvin Mims goes to Adam Ronis. Getting ready to close out round number 12 and open up round number 13. My man, Billy Hayes. Billy said Ridley will be in the third round by Labor Day. Hey, Billy, he was in the first round tonight, Billy. He went 112. So you know what I'm saying? You talking about that? You talking about Calvin Ridley? Nah, Calvin Ridley went crazy. Calvin Ridley went in at 112 in this draft right here. That is the story of this draft, was Calvin Ridley going at 112, well, at least so far. Okay, all right, okay, Bill. You know, listen, Billy Hayes. Hey, listen, Billy Hayes, we in the GST together. You know what I'm saying? Save the trash talking for the GST league. You know what I mean? There you go, right there. Shout out to my man Billy Hayes. Fly, Eagles, fly. All right, back to the draft board. Jared Goff. Is Jared Goff his QB1? I believe so. Jared Goff. It goes off the board to start round 13. Jared Goff was QB1 worthy last year. I want to do better than that, but I don't have no problem with that. So then we get Zamir White and Shaheed from the Colts go off the board. The Colts still have that issue going on. Their running back position. But Shaheed goes off the board to my man Snake. That's an interesting pick right there. Snake, give me an explanation for Shaheed in the comments. I wish I could bring back Wu-Tang Wednesday. Bill's supposed to play a lot of 12 personnel this year. Kincaid could play out the slot a ton. Okay, I can dig that. A lot of people I know are in on Kincaid. People I trust are in on Kincaid. We probably won't do no Wu-Tang Wednesday. What do I got scheduled for tomorrow? I'm going to do some executive decisions where I talk some regular sports, talk about this Barstool ESPN thing. I think that's very fascinating. And I have some more topics. What else I got tomorrow? Me and my man Blaze, Ron Russ, we're going to do arch rivals, talk about this 2024 Hall of Fame class, and should Andrew Luck be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So that stuff will be up there, be clips from this draft and stuff like that. We're just going to have a good time and do it ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Since nobody else can seem to get it right. All right, the dude pops on tape. Okay, cool. All right, let's get back to the draft board right here. Zamir White, Shaheed. Then we get Wilson from Miami. Jeff Wilson goes off the board. And then we get Tua as a quarterback, 2 on a team with Lamar Jackson. Then we get Van Jefferson. Then we get Paris Campbell, New York Giant wide receiver. So that's where we stand right now. Wide receiver 2 for New Orleans. Heard he had a hand injury. Okay. Yes, I'm in on Billy Hayes. Want to know if I'm in on Kadarius Toney. Yeah, I'm in on Kadarius Toney. I wish he would stop getting on social media and cursing out Giants fans, though. That's very immature. Like, y'all broke up. You went and won a championship. Don't be going back and forth with Giants fans. It's stupid. But I do think that Kadarius Toney is a guy I'm going to be on, especially at his ADP. Get ready to move this draft board up in a few. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to stay to the end of the draft, to be honest with you, fellas. I mean, what do you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? My man Fantasy Frankie dodged me. You know what I mean? I'm just teasing. Shout out to Fantasy Frankie. He reminds you of Galladay. Well, if he reminds you of Galladay, you don't want no parts of him. You know what I'm saying? But, listen, Kansas City always got these super duper talented young receivers that don't never do shit. You didn't speak to Singletary. Oh, let me see where it goes. Now, oh man, Singletary is a guy that I've been in on. Devin Singletary goes off the board, running back 49 to the Houston Texans running back. Devin Singletary goes off the board, RB 49. I think this is an interesting pick. My thing with Singletary is another one of those guys, like I say, fantasy football owners are romantic. He's let me down years in the past. Super duper talented. Maybe not the right situation in Buffalo. I'm willing to go in on him and take a flyer. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm willing to go in on him and take a flyer on Devin Singletary late, especially where he's going. I think he could be a guy that you can see bring back some value. Put it like this. It's going to be points in the season that Singletary is going to be in your roster. After Tua, Van Jefferson, Paris Campbell, Michael Gallup. Keep a circle, Michael Gallup. As my man Lenny Munner used to say, etch that name in your kitchen table. Tajay Spears, Sam Laporta, Richie James. Now, here is a wide receiver that I do like right here. Round 13, pick 12. Carolina Panther rookie wide receiver, Jonathan Mingo. So I was watching this program on YouTube, Carolina Panthers going through their draft process. It was like an in-house show, like a Hard Knocks, but like through the draft process. And the day after they drafted Bryce Young, they brought Bryce Young into the facility, his family and stuff like that, showed him his locker room. When they were on the field, Frank Reich said to Bryce Young, we're going to draft a run. This is going into day 2. We're going to draft a wide receiver. And Young said to Frank Reich, go get Jonathan Mingo. So he's a guy that the new franchise quarterback pointed out. So Mingo is a player that I'm going to be leaving drafts with because I think he's a guy that could be an interesting pick right there. Carolina Panther rookie wide receiver, Jonathan Mingo. Let me get back to this board right here. Move this up so we can have the proper view as we come down on this 20-round FFWC Fantasy Football World Championship beat Adam Ronis draft. There you go right there. All right, so let's get back to the draft board. We get Johnson and then Daniel Jones, the $45 million quarterback. Daniel Jones, Chuba Hubbard. He didn't step up last year, Hubbard. When McCaffrey was going, Foreman was excellent. Then we get the Cleveland Brown running back, Ford. Josh Palmer. I forgot about Josh Palmer. He was a nice fill-in last year in certain spots for my man Big Mike Williams. Now with Quentin Johnson in the wide receiver room, you're seeing less people go to Josh Palmer, but I wouldn't go away from him. And then after that we get Brown, I forgot his first name, but he's the other running back out there with the Cincinnati Bengals. So there you go right there. But then we get Curtis Samuel in DC and KJ Osborne. KJ Osborne is a guy that I would leave drafts with. Everybody is pushing Jordan Addison up the board and forgetting about Osborne. Osborne was effective last year without Thielen. You got to remember, Osborne is familiar with Cousins. He already knows the offense. Yeah, we like the explosiveness and the talent that's behind the young man Addison, but don't sleep on Osborne. Pierce, a pick I love. Fantastic pick by Snake with Jalen Hyatt. He is getting some rave reviews at a New York Giant camp. I just worry if the volume is going to be enough, particularly with Waller there. Love him in the best ball format. But yeah, Hyatt. Now, Ronis drafts. I'm going to take a look at Ronis' team already. I want to see if Ronis got another tight end. Excuse me 1 second, y'all. Yeah, he already has Waller. Okay, so he didn't draft Okonwu as his tight end 1, right? But Okonwu is a guy a lot of people like coming into this year. if I get caught playing tight end chicken and I don't get into that group, that pre-Njoku group, I would drop down and take a shot on this kid, but I would meet double tight ends. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't just have him if I play tight end chicken. I'm going to need like him and Kincaid or like him and Everett, something like that. You know what I mean? That's how I would play it. And then Cole Kmet goes right after him. So we get back-to-back tight ends to close 14, looking to open up around 15 right now. My man Snake says, please stop complimenting me, Snake Squad, man. The proverbial kiss of death. Hey, listen, I tell people I'm in the honesty business. I'm in the truth business. And if I see it, I got to say it. And Snake, you've had some good picks. You know what I'm saying? So there you go right there. I wouldn't have left Josh Jacobs on the board. I'm saying that. But, who am I to tell you? You finished at the top of some of these contests before. Oh, man. Hope everything is going well, Snake. I don't know if you noticed. I'm not in New York anymore. I live in South Carolina now. And it's so hot that you can't go outside till nighttime. James Maloney says, what do I think about Tannehill? Ryan Tannehill? The Dolphins, the Tennessee quarterback? I think he sucks. I think he can get the job done as far as getting the ball to where it needs to be. But that's an offense. You know how Tennessee plays. They play situational football. So they're going to play good defense. They're going to be well coached, and they're going to try to limit turnovers and mistakes from Tannehill. So they're going to run the ball, play good defense, kick field goals. They do everything right. Not super duper talented roster, but Vrabel is a good enough head coach to make sure that they're in they could win that division this year. Don't just think that Jacksonville going to come in there and walk all over everybody, right? So that could be the case as well. But no, Tannehill is this is probably his last year. He's lucky they drafted a stiff and Will Levis. You know what I'm saying? Because he could have been gone this year. But this would probably be his last year in Tennessee. Interesting to see how they're going to rebuild that roster. Yeah, and then having D-Hop and I'm not a D-Hop guy. I'm down on D-Hop. Like, I think when wide receivers go to Tennessee, it's because they wash. So he was looking for that big money. Tennessee was the only team desperate enough to give it to him. So I don't really like where Hopkins is at. If it happens for Hopkins this year, God bless him. You know what I'm saying? But it won't happen on my team. At least I don't think so. Let's get back round 15. Hunt, Justin Ross, interesting. Then we get Chandler off the board. Then Reed goes. Hunter Renfrow. He's not going to go crazy like he did a couple years ago. He will be better than last year. I like Hunter Renfrow. Leonard Fournette, still a free agent. Josh Kelly. Irv Smith Jr., another interesting tight end. Michael Carter. To me, I got Michael Carter on so many teams because I'm like, who else gonna run the ball? So I'm in on Carter. I worry about Carter because I'm the only person in on him. Like, nobody else is talking about Carter but me. You know what I'm saying? So that's normally not a good sign. You know what I'm saying? But he's basically free in drafts. Fantasy Football World Championship. Beat Adam Ronis League. The man with the target is SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio and brand new employee of the Messengers, Adam Ronis. Me and him have a audio podcast called Fantasy Foes. We're recording that tomorrow. So I'll give you the information on social media, how you can listen to that. Adam Ronis will break down his team that he drafts right here tonight. What up, Stats Guru? Appreciate your break, dog. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully we get to turn up a little bit in Las Vegas later on this year. Some interesting stuff going on behind the scenes. It's going to be an excellent football season. All right. Round 16 opens up with Mike Gesicki. New England has never really been able to read. Two of these late tight ends, Johnson and Gesicki. I'm hearing about how Johnson is going to be a breakout player for a couple years now. Can't get it done. And Gesicki, that gritty was god-awful. That was one of the worst gritties ever. You know what I'm saying? But It is what it is. Deuce Vaughn, Dallas Cowboy, diminutive running back, making a lot of plays in camp. This guy is electric. He can touch it and go to the house. He's a good pick. And in the Fantasy Football World Championship, if Deuce runs a kickback, you get those points. Then we get Shakur, the Buffalo wide receiver, goes off the board in round 16. Abe says Carter is supposed to have a role this year. He was misused last year. I like Carter. I hope he does come out there and get it going this upcoming year. Free in drafts, worth a spot. Listen, if it don't pop, cut him. This is another thing, right? This has always been so interesting to me. We will sit up here and talk fantasy football from the 4th of July to Labor Day. And then after 1 week of games, the players that we studied all summer and put on our team, we immediately cut them. It's so interesting. You spend 2 months working on this team, then after 1 week, you start sending people to the waiver wire. Let's slow your roll a little bit. After Shakur, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, what used to be off the board, Deion Jackson, who could be the starting damn running back for the Colts. The bus, Gus Edwards. We get our first kicker off the board. The Raiders team kicker goes off the board. Then Wan'Dale Robinson. Interesting trio of wide receivers taken by Team 5. Osborne, Renfro, Robinson. Somebody in this group is going to be in the starting lineup. I guarantee you that. Free agent running back Ezekiel Elliott goes. Then we see Snake go with running back Prince from Kansas City. Adam Ronis, our target tonight, is currently on the board. Shout out to Adam Ronis, son of a gun. Adam Ronis takes Pierre Strong Jr., running back from New England. Could hit. You know how New England does with the running backs. It could go down. You never know who Bill Belichick is going to play. Pretty soon, as we get into the kickers and the defenses and stuff, we'll go through here, start looking and giving I don't really want to say a grade, but we're looking at and give a couple of thoughts on these teams. I'm not going to give a grade because I give a team an A and then it's wrong. The team finishing in last place, I look like a fucking idiot. You know what I'm saying? Or I give a team a D and then the team win the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? And then I still look like an idiot. I'm trying to not look like an idiot, you know what I'm saying? But I will give some honest assessments of the team. Give it about another 2 rounds or so when we start getting, because I do want to see who some of these guys are picking later on in these rounds. So as you go into your own drafts this weekend, give you a couple ideas of some late round flyers. Yeah, that was a great day. The Caitlin O'Toole draft, you know what I'm saying? That team might have won a little something too, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Caitlin O'Toole. I seen her on Facebook or something recently. She's out there doing her thing, living her best life, while the fantasy executives in South Carolina getting his dick burnt off. You know, a pause. You know what I'm saying? Not literally. I'm just saying that's how hot it is out here. I'll say that for the snake. Good stuff right there. All right, where we at? Draft board. I think everybody here, we got a pretty good crew in here. I want to thank everybody for rocking and rolling with us tonight. And we might try to make this a weekly thing, you know what I'm saying? Especially if we can get some people to sign up for some leagues, then we definitely can go ahead and start doing some more live draft. I know you'll take it, you know what I'm saying? Snake, I know, you know how hard to say we get down. Niners, DST goes off the board. Chase Claypool goes off the board. Ronis takes Marquise Wilson off the board from Arizona. All right, get through this round and the next round, and then we'll start looking back and trying to break down some of these teams. Don't forget to pop any comments inside the chat. Try to get them answered as the best that we could, and make sure that nothing else is going on. You know what I'm saying, out there in the social media world. Make sure I ain't missed nothing. Don't forget, tell a friend to tell a friend. We're having a good time right now, coming up on the end of this draft. I see where Dez Bryant is very excited about him going to Canton this weekend, recording a whole bunch of videos and stuff. What I'm going to do while I'm in Canton, as a matter of fact, this weekend, I'm the auctioneer for one of the drafts. So I'll tape a couple of players being auctioned off and throw that on the YouTube channel. And then I'll probably just, do some videos from the Hall of Fame and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Pop it up on here as well so we can get some, some pretty good content for you throughout the course of the weekend. And maybe I'll get a chance to chat with Dez Bryant a little bit, you know what I'm saying, and bring that to you as well. Is Barry Sanders any good still? Yeah, nope. Barry Sanders' time is long gone. Back to the draft we go. South Carolina Gamecock Hayden Hurst goes off the board to the Carolina Panthers, and then tight end. And then we see Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Then Devontae Parker goes off the board. People will talk about solid, legit quarterbacks. Like I heard somebody say Dak Prescott didn't have no weapons outside of CeeDee Lamb last year. Dak Prescott make $40 million a year. He is the weapon. And you know who don't have no weapons, but he never gets the excuse or the benefit of the doubt is Mac Jones. You ever look at the people that Mac Jones throw the ball to? Devontae Parker is one of them. He's a starting wide receiver on that team. He got drafted in the 17th round of a 20-round draft. You kidding me? Serious? He don't have no weapons. But nobody ever makes an excuse for him. After Parker, another starting wide receiver for New England, Traquan Thornton in round 17. But Mac Jones, nobody give him the excuse. Cordero Patterson, followed by a pair of kickers in Baltimore, the kicking GOAT in Kansas City. I don't really have I know, right? James said, "Have you ever drafted a team you didn't like?" Oh, everybody loves their draft. When the draft is over. You know what my favorite part of a draft is, right? Say you and the homies have a live draft, right? Y'all at Buffalo Wild Wings or wherever the fuck you have drafts at. You know what I'm saying? You ever notice after the draft, everybody is standing around looking at the draft board. You know what I'm saying? Like the draft board got titties. You know what I mean? Like everybody's just looking at the draft board, drinking beer, shaking their head. You know what I'm saying? So you never really have a draft you don't like. You know what I'm saying? In your mind, you figure out a way to put it together. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be a lot of that going on in the next couple of weeks as we get together and stay at the draft board. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to everybody getting ready for their fantasy football draft. And enjoy your friends. Round 18 starts with somebody named Woods, a tight end. Oh, that's Jelani Woods, tight end for the Indianapolis Colts. And then we got the Bengals kicker, Evan McPherson, going off the board right there. Omar, it's the truth, though, son. You know what I'm saying? Everybody looking at the draft board like the draft board going to do a split. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man. But listen, I love it. You know what I'm saying? I love it. Good times. One of my favorite things to do is to draft fantasy football teams and to talk to you guys about it as well. Good active group in here tonight, you know what I'm saying? So make sure to tell a friend as we get ready for fantasy football in 2018. Want to get to a couple more of these picks. Look at Allen Robinson, wide receiver 89. What a time to be alive. He was horrible last year. Horrible. Is he going to be better this year in Pittsburgh? If he is, he's going to be on the waiver wire. Terrence Marshall. I actually saw an article on Terrence Marshall today. Interesting. He could be, a guy that gets some work this year. Like I said, I like Mango. After Marshall, Chargers kicker Tillman, the wide receiver from Cleveland, goes. Then the Buffalo Bills defense goes. Shout out to everybody for rocking with us in here tonight. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for giving the fantasy executive a little bit of your time. I thought this was going to be 2 hours. So what I have seen in the FFWC is that their draft software is, making the drafts quicker. So that's good right there. Bryce Young, the guy who I think is going to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year, he gets drafted. Don't be surprised if Bryce Young is starting for this team over Kirk Cousins. And then, wow, look at this. Woods, you know what I'm saying? My man Woods goes. He's still around. Snake takes Woods. Robert Woods, Bobby Trees with wide receiver 92 Our target, Adam Ronis, is now on the board. Now his last pick was a wide receiver. Interesting to see where he goes. 2 of his last 3 picks was a wide receiver. And then after that, we get team number 1 to pick. And then we'll go ahead and start looking through at some of these teams. Find the price point that fits you. Click the link, hop in it. And if anything, the mock draft, the free mock draft championship, you do that for free. And if you win that contest, you win a box of Panini Flawless. Those are the big expensive cards right there. You could hit like a 1-on-1 Josh Allen or some shit like that, and it really could change your life. You know what I'm saying? This dude that Ronis draft, I do not know who he is. Wide receiver 93. He plays for the Rams. Nuka. So whatever. Shout out to him. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying? Good luck for him. All right, let's get back here. And let me get to this board right here. Work with me right here. Yes, definitely smash that like button. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for putting that out there. Hit that like button. Everybody in here should be a subscriber by now. All right, let's go back. Let's get here over here on this screen right here. All right, and let's start to recap some of these teams. Team 1, Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, DJ Moore, Mike Williams, Mike Evans. So Jeff, Moore, Williams, Evans with Taylor and Gibbs. Who's the quarterback? Jared Goff. Then you got Cole Kmet. Not that fond. Ronis, Chase, Olave, Metcalf, Kirk, Jacobs, Connor, Darren Waller, Trevor Lawrence. And then you see some of the pieces on the bench. Tank Bigsby, Marvin Mims, Zamir White, my man O'Connell from Tennessee. Strong team like Adam Ronis' team. Snake goes Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, Jerry Jeudy, Deontay Johnson. Comes back Ken Walker and James Cook. Then he gets Justin Fields and George Kittle. Love the team. Bateman, Dillon, great picks. Mooney, Gainwell, solid. Jalen Hyatt, solid team. My man Snake's going to be a team to compete with in this league right here. Slippery turf. Christian McCaffrey, Devontae Smith, Mark Andrews, Smith, Goodwin, Lockett, Andrews, McCaffrey, a lot of receptions on this team. Alexander Madison, David Montgomery, not the best running backs, but a good amount of receptions. And then McCaffrey, I forgot McCaffrey, he's a running back too. So a lot of receptions on this team. I like the P. Ryan pick. I'm not going to play quarterback chicken to get to the Kirk Cousins range, but there you go right there. Don't have no problem with this team. Then we get a running back heavy team: Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson, and Aaron Jones. You can start all 4 of them in this format. Hockenson and Jackson, right? Strong, right? Okay, who 3 wide receivers we starting? Dotson, Cooks, Myers. Myers is a stiff. Dotson and Cooks, love that. Alan Lazard could take that 3rd wide. Adam Thielen could take that 3rd wide. Solid ways to put the wide receivers together like that team. Is a tough squad right there. Our next team, Kelsey, Chubb, Pierce, okay? McLaurin, Ayuk, Addison, Brian Robinson. This team is all over the place a little bit to me. But still some solid pieces on this team. Interesting how that one comes together. Team Tonka, Lamb, Adams, and then Keenan Allen, Najee Harris, Cam Akers, Javonte Williams, Justin Herbert, Evan Ingram. This team is fantastic. Good squad right here. They're going to be a team that have to be competed with. And then on Steeler fans 740, St. Brown picked with the 8th pick of round 1. St. Brown picked with the 8th pick of round 1. Then we get, so his wide receivers, St. Brown, D-Hop, Quentin Johnston, Michael Thomas. Running backs, Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne, and then Rashawn White. Joe Burrow, Pat Freiermuth. Decent team, going to need some help. Next team, Brian Robinson, Saquon Barkley. Solid running back group, even though I'm not that high on Barkley. Cooper, London, Brown, Pittman. If Brown and London hit, this team is going to be tough, but then you got that Pitts on there as well, Deshaun Watson. This team could go crazy. People are going to have to live up to expectation. Next team, Cooper Kupp, Jalen Waddle catches crazy. Smith and Jigba, this is a good team. Breece Hall, see Hall and Swift. Running backs could be a liability. Josh Allen can give you some running as well, though. Dallas Goedert, Traylon Burks. That team is going to be solid. May need some help off the waiver wire. Then we get Diggs, Brown, Samuel, Pat Mahomes. Miles Sanders, and then a bunch of Dalvin Cook, Pacheco, Penny, Pickens as a flex, Rashee Rice, Schultz. This team right here is good. Like this team. Daniel Jones late, but I like the team. Then the final team. Oh, this team has Mahomes too. So yeah, Ridley, Wilson, Watson, Gabe Davis was a disaster last year. Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins, Antonio Gibson, Elijah Moore, Anthony Richardson. Listen, you took Ridley at 1-12, and you left Brown, Waddle, Adams on the board. If this works out and Ridley pops, then you know what? I like the team. If it doesn't, you may have shot yourself in the foot. All right, we coming up on the final couple of picks of this draft right here. Want to thank everybody for hopping in right here, having a good time tonight. You know what I'm saying? So you can go back and watch this one right here. The broadcast will be up, obviously, for your review. And we'll figure out a way to do this again. Don't forget, everybody should have hit that subscribe button. Everybody smash that like button. Thank you very much for rocking and rolling with me tonight. All right, shout out to Adam Ronis. Shout out to my man Snake. Everybody that took place in the draft. And obviously, Scott Atkins, my boy, for the real estate. Shout out to my man Stats Guru and my guys in here as well. My man Matt Brandon. Corey Parson, the fantasy executive. We'll catch you right here next time. Tune in tomorrow. We'll have some more stuff out here. Fantasy executive. Love you, everybody. We out.